Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. Today we're going to do something really weird. We're going to go and spend some time up on the roof and talk about solar panels. I know it's not woodworking, but this is a topic that a lot of people have asked me to do since I've recently put solar panels on my house. So, why did I do solar? Yes, I recently put solar panels on my roof, and it is a long, drawn-out process. So today I want to talk about, number one, why I put solar panels on, what was the cost, how does it work, what are the benefits and minuses of it, and what all goes into it, because it is a very long and drawn-out process. Now, if you want a shorter video, on the main channel, I have a video that is just basically running through the quick steps as quickly as possible. On this one, I'm going to actually go over to the computer, and I'm going to look at some of the graphs and charts and things of that nature and get all geeky about it. So if you want that, jump over there. Otherwise, this is going to be a little bit longer video talking about something that's not quite woodworking. So why exactly am I doing a video about solar on a woodworking channel? Well, this is kind of one of those weird topics that I was originally not planning on doing a video because it's solar. However, I mentioned it in the Hive Mind and a lot of people were like, yes, I really want to know about that. So I guess we're going to do that. And there is an offshoot of people who are hand tools who want to get off grid and do things like that, and so solar may be a benefit for that. So yeah, this isn't going to be normal. This isn't going to turn into a solar technology channel. This is just a one-off thing. So yeah, solar panels. I didn't exactly get into solar panels because I am very solar conscious and eco-minded. I mean, that is in the back of my brain, but for me, the big reason was money. And for me around here, it was kind of a no-brainer decision. So some of the big numbers. Number one, on average, an average month across the year, I spend about $140 to $145 in electric. Now, I know for a lot of people that is dirt low, and I know a few people I've talked to said, wow, you spend that much on electricity. Yeah, so I don't think it's quite average, but for me it's about $140, $145 a month. The solar grid that we put on a roof is projected to create about that much amount of electricity over the course of the year. So sometimes it will be producing way more than I use, and sometimes it will be producing way less than I use, depending upon the time of year. And so that means that it averages out over the year. So effectively, it should cover all of my electrical needs. Basically taking my electrical bill down to $20 a month because I need to connect to the grill. There's services for that. And the solar panels that we are putting on have a warranty on them. So they are warranted to supply the amount of electricity they are predicted to supply. And if they don't, then those panels can get changed, as well as the workmanship on it. So all of that is warranted. So I'm pretty much guaranteed to be getting what they're expecting me to get. Yeah, there's no such thing as guarantees in life, but it's about as close as you can get. I'm going to be getting that much electricity over the course of its life over the next 30 years. The whole installation for me was around $31,000. So around $31,000 for me at my current electrical usage means that it's going to take me 21 years to make it back. So that means I'll have 9 years of free electricity. However, there is a federal tax credit that lops off about 25% of it. So that brings me down to around 15 years. So about half of the time I'm spending money on it, and half of the time I'm not. And then in Illinois, there's a whole nother budget that we can do with the SETREC, which for me lopped off about another 25%. So it brings it down to about 10 years of payments. So I can pay it off in 10 years and then have 20 years of free electricity. And that sounds really, really good. But that means that I have to come up with $15,000-ish right up front to pay for it. And that can be kind of pricey. That might not be worth it. But I can get a loan out, which means that it's going to take it from 10 years up to about 11 years of paying off the loan. And the loan payment is less than my monthly expenditure for electricity. So even from day one, I'm actually saving money. I'm spending less on the loan than I would be on the electricity. So for me, that was a no-brainer. No money down, I get solar on my roof, I'm saving money. Yeah, it's only a couple bucks a month for the first 11 years, but then after that, for the next 19 years, I'm not spending any money. And that was kind of appealing. Now, every different location across the United States and the world is going to have different ideas of what they're subsidizing and what they're offering as incentives to put solar in. But for me, it ends up being about 50% of the cost is taken off of it. And that's pretty big. And if you know anything about my channel, you know that I am very deeply into research and spreadsheets. And so I made all sorts of spreadsheets about it, which most of them really weren't very useful. But I ended up actually interviewing about 7 different companies to come out and say, how much would you charge? What services do you offer? What are the equipments that you're going to be offering? And I ended up going with Sun Badger Solar. They are out of Wisconsin, but they do a good bit of the Midwest. They were cost effective. They weren't the cheapest on the market, but the equipment that they were offering was very good, and it was the right balance for me. The problem for most people when you're first getting into solar is you don't even know what questions to ask. And I kind of had that problem. I did a ton of research on YouTube and reading through all sorts of articles and contacting electricians and other people I knew of. But the best resource by far is a website called SunSage. And what they do is they are basically a clearinghouse for all sorts of different solar companies, and allows you to go in and put all of the specifications of your house. What is your electrical bill? What is your house size? Where is it? How is it positioned to the sun? What are your needs? And it compiles all these things, and then it has a whole nother list of other things you've never thought about that might affect the choices you make. And then it allows you to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Let's send it out to these companies and see if anyone is willing to put offers in on the work. And that works out really well, because then it gives you a lot of questions about, well, I never thought about that particular aspect in my particular installation, and every installation is wildly different, and the codes and laws in every state are very different. And it gives you all of these ideas that then you can go to these installers and ask them these questions. And I absolutely love the resource. And that is how I came to finding the company I went. I actually went on there and I found a whole bunch of different companies that I could ask for putting in bids on the project. And then I was able to ask them all of the questions that were bugging me about this particular solar cell. How does it rank up against these other ones? So if you're even thinking about solar, definitely go to EnergySage, fill out that information, and it will answer a lot of your questions and then give you a lot more questions that you will want to go out and find your particular answers on. I'll leave a link to it down below. And if you do happen to use the link, it does give me a small kickback, so thank you for that. But on top of that, if you're in this area, Sun Badger, I absolutely loved them. Their service was top-notch. Anytime a problem came up, and problems will come up, it is a very detailed and long process. Anytime something came up, they communicated things instantly. They talked about how long will this take, what are the solutions, and how do we get around this. And they were very, very good. They allowed me to get a lot of the design input. I don't want panels over here, I want panels over there. Can I move this array this way? And they really worked with me to make what I wanted to happen. So I'll also leave a link to Sun Badger down below if you happen to be in the Midwest. Definitely give them a call. So the whole process for me was a little bit lengthy. Back in May, I started looking at solar companies and when should I look into this? What will all it take? Sometime around June, we established we're going to go with Sun Badger and started working on the process with that. Now we had to switch out our roof because we had a dilapidated shingle roof and I wanted to put on metal. So I did all of the tear off and put on the new roof. Added about $10,000 to it. But if your roof is in decent shape, you really shouldn't have to worry about that. Just understand that these are intended to be up there for around 25, 30 plus years. And so you probably want a roof that's that good so you don't have to take them off, replace the roof, and then put them back on. So once I finally got the roof done, and that was towards the end of July, we were hoping to have them come in August. However, our local municipality was dragging their feet, and it took months and months and months to get the application to go through. A lot of that was COVID, but it was our local municipality, and it was a slightly different thing for them. And so I didn't actually have to handle any of the communications with the municipality. Sun Badger took care of all of that and really did an outstanding job basically fighting with them to try and make this happen. And so it didn't happen in August we finally got the go-ahead to do it in October. Actually, I think it was the end of September. But then they came to install it, and come to find out there was a miscommunication between me and the company about the roof that I had put on, because I put on a slightly different metal roof than what they were used to. So they had to order different clips. So the clips that actually lock onto the roof rather than screwing down through it were were the wrong ones. So we had to wait another couple weeks until we got those clips in. They got the clips in, and the first day they were able to come in and put in most of the hardware, and then it was another day and a half to actually get the actual panels on and get all of the electrical hooked up. But then, once it's all on and connected, then you have to wait for the municipality again to then check it and say, yes, you're good to go. And for me, that was another long wait. We didn't actually get it turned on again until December. So all that time, I'm not making anything. But the nice thing is, everything doesn't kick in until it is on and running. So my loan payment didn't actually start until the electricity was running. So even though all of this was happening, I never put a single penny down until the electricity turned on. But that means that it got started right about the winter solstice when the sun was this low in the sky. So I'm not making much right now, but I will be in the future. And I want to show you some of the things that have been going on. And particularly where I am in northern Illinois, we do have snow, and so I have to think about some of that. So a little bit about the equipment and what goes into it. I'm actually putting on a grid-connected solar panel system. And so what happens is I don't actually feed electricity in my house. I feed electricity into the grid, and I still get my electricity out of the grid. So that means that if there's a power outage, I still don't have electricity unless I have a battery backup or a generator. But with how often that happens, it's really not worth the outlay right now. But that also means we need to have a disconnect switch put on so that it can be disconnected from the grid. So if the rest of the grid is down, I'm not energizing the grid so that I'm not going to be frying some wireman working out when he thinks that the grid is off, but my solar panels are still feeding it. There's also a lot of other electronics that have to go into it, and then there is a box that then actually collates all the information and sends it to an app and a program so I can keep track of everything that's going on there. I decided to go with a distributed grid, so every single solar panel has its own inverter. The nice thing about that is if any one inverter goes down, it's basically just going to be that one panel that's not working. The other way to do it is you can get one big inverter that everything feeds into, and that if there's any one problem, then the whole system's down and you have to wait to get that on. All of my inverters are also guaranteed and warranted, so I know that if one of those goes wrong, I can get it switched out. I'm not going to go into detail on the panels because there are so many different varieties. Now that really depends on the company that you go with and what panels they offer. So that's one of the things to ask when you're interviewing different companies. What do they offer and what might work for you? Now, originally I had thought about maybe going with the Tesla roof. I kind of like the look of that, especially since I'm going to be replacing the roof. However, because it is a new thing and it's really going to be another 3, 4, maybe 5 years until it becomes mainstream, it wasn't even offered in my area, and I would have to wait another year or two before I could even get it. And yeah, I want to hold off on that. I am an early adopter, but I'm not that early of an adopter. Now, one of the things particularly about being up here in northern Illinois is we get snow. Now, I could get panels that actually have heaters in it, and you use a little bit of electricity to heat the panels up and the snow melts off. But for most snow, it will melt off. Not always though, because we actually had a stint soon after we got the panels where we got 6 inches of snow. It landed on the panels thawed a little bit and actually froze down and the snow wouldn't slide off. And it took several weeks and the snow never came off. So I ended up getting a roof rake to scrape it off because I wasn't producing any electricity then. So it really only takes 5-10 minutes to grab the roof rake and clean them off if there's a heavy amount. But if it's a light amount of snow, they melt off and it all slides off the roof. So you don't really have to worry about that much. And plus, in the winter, you're not generating that much electricity because the sun is so low in the sky. It's often not worth it. It might be $1 or $2 worth of generation over an entire day. So let me take you over to the computer and show you exactly how it works and what it all looks like on the back end. So here we are over at Inphase. Inphase is actually the program, that's the box they put on the side that keeps track of things, and it sends this to me both on the website and on an app on my phone so I can check this out. It gives me all sorts of updates. If there's any particular problem with one of the items or something in there, it will let me know in the update on here. And this lets me know, so far today I've done 1.5 kilowatt hours. And this is actually a little bit behind because it doesn't update immediately. It updates in like large chunks of the day. And I'll be talking about that in a little bit. We can actually come in here and see the immediate energy. So right now it is actually like 140. So we're somewhere around here. But the last time it updated was around here. And it has it in, 15-minute increments. So you see large, rough chunks of the day. But this chart shows you per day. So this is currently today. That was yesterday. Here's where I cleaned off snow because we had a large snowfall. Then we got previous days and these, ooh, that was a nice one. January 22nd. We had a total of 32.9 kilowatt hours. And for this time of year, that's pretty good. It was pretty sunny all day long. But I actually want to show you this chart. This is one of my favorites. This is actually a very clean visual representation of each chunk of each day. So each string is an entire day by hours. And you can see this day we had pretty good hours. We come up here to the 22nd. That was the one we were looking at. And the brighter they get, the more energy it's producing. Then you go down to black. It's not producing anything. But with this, you can actually scroll back into the past. And yeah, this is the section where we had a very large snowfall and I didn't have the roof rake. And then right here, I went and bought the roof rake and cleaned it off. And you can see how we're suddenly generating energy after that. But yeah, this is a good way to get an overall view of what does the energy production look like. And you can see it both on a day, on weekly, the monthly, yearly, and so on. And with the monthly, each of these blocks is a full day. The brighter it is, the more you've produced. The darker, you haven't produced anything. And so you can see here is when it actually was turned on back in December. Yay, happiness. And of course, this was the winter solstice. So that is the worst possible day of the year for solar. Then you can actually look at the whole array. And this shows you what every panel and inverter is producing. You can see these ones are low because there's actually some snow on top of that. And that was, this is January. This one's hard to get to because it piles off of that. But let's look at the actual today. And you can see it looks like it's actually melted what it was off of that. So now it's actually doing pretty well. Oh, no, this is the 22nd. So let's actually look at today's light up. So yeah, it's not doing very well yet, but this is several hours old. So you can see this one is low because it's piled up in the corner. This one's high because it's facing the east. You see the sun coming up here, so later on in the day these produce better. And this one is facing south, so this is a little bit better. But again, you can look at this in monthly and yearly and lifetime and see how much have each of these panels produced. And you can see, is one of them not producing so well, probably because it's stuck in the corner and all the snow piles up on it. But this is very accurate information, but it's not very up to date. And I like numbers. I want to see a little bit more. So I actually have Sense, and this is a slightly different thing. This is a box you get, and you can put it into your panel, and you can run wires to your solar connectors so you can see what you're using as well as what you're producing. So right now, this is of the moment. I am producing about 4,000 watts. Always on. These are like the little LEDs all throughout the house. It ends up being about 300 watts. I'm slowly working on whittling that down, but I have a few things that just are always on. Then we have other items. These are things that it can't quite detect. Things like our projector and some of the kids' computers and things like that. And then if I turn on the shop lights, you can see it'll suddenly say, oh, look, shop lights turned on. Cool. So if the furnace pops on, it checks those, dishwasher, and so on. But this allows me to see accurately to the moment what we are producing over what we are using. And so right now we're producing 4,000 watts. We're using about 1,600 watts. So that's allowing me to throw about 2,300 watts back to the grid. So this gives me a very clear view week by week, month by month, and day by day. You can see exactly what you've been using. And I can even get down to the micro moment with meters. And this allows me to see, let's see the last hour. So energy production is this orange up here, red down here is what I'm using. The last 24 hours, takes a moment for it to connect, and then you can see this is throughout the night, so this is what's on all the time. This is refrigerator turning on, this is the furnace kicking on, and this is when we were working during the day. So I can actually go back and see all the detail. This spike, that is our dryer. We have an electric dryer. Might want to change that over to gas because that uses a lot. Though with our current electrical producing, I might just leave it. But Sense is very good at then being able to know what all you have. And so these are the things that it's found. Furnace, dryer, dishwasher, devices. I mean, there's quite a few things. Vacuums that have been, it's the same vacuum. It's just been put into several different outlets. And so it's always learning and finding new things in the house. And I really like playing with this and working with it. But this allows me to see exactly what I'm using as well as what I'm generating. Whereas the Inphase program only lets me see what I am producing. Now I can get an add-on to the Inphase so I can see what I'm actually using, which is far more accurate than Sense because it's actually on the mains. It's measuring what's going through the meter. But that ends up being, I think it was another $400 to get that added onto this. And since I already have Sense, I really like this. It gives me the up-to-date information on that. So with Sense, this really gives me a lot of that information that I need. And between these two, I get that data that I crave, and this becomes more or less a game for me. And I actually get to see, what's producing, how can I make it better, how can I use less, and really dial in on the exact things that I need to use less energy and produce more energy. So this is kind of fun, and it is. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the summer looks like with the energy production. But between these two apps, I'm in hog heaven. So it has been a really fun ride actually getting all of this to happen. It is not a quick process, and every state and municipality is going to be very different in what it requires and what all goes into it. So yes, technically you could do it yourself, and if you are a certified electrician, then I'd say go for it. But honestly, I used to be a certified electrician. I know electricity. I'm not going to install it because it is there's just so much that has to go into it that is specific to this, and it's a rather new field that there are a lot of ins and outs that I just don't know. And so that's why I really wanted to go with a company that I could trust. Sun Ballinger really ticked all of the boxes for me, and that's the reason why I loved working with them, and I would definitely do it again. This whole thing has been a lot of fun for me, and now that I have all of these graphs on a day, my wife kind of laughs at me because I'm always geeking out over all of the data and information and spreadsheets, and I'm having lots of fun with this. So yes, basically now our electrical bill is functionally zero, though because it's winter time we're still not producing as much as we use, but during the summer we'll be using far more. We don't actually have a rate that changes. Our rate is always the same, and so we get credit for everything we put in. So if we create 2 credits worth of electricity more than we use, then later on we can use that and spend our credits to get electricity. So if you are in an area where there is a variability in rate, you may actually find it sometimes better to have a battery so that you can save it up at sometimes and then expend it at others. But for us, it really doesn't make that big a sense. So there are a lot of things like that that you have to think about where you are, how much is your electricity. Some places electricity prices are astronomically high, and this is a beyond no-brainer. It is just common sense to put in something like this. For us, it ends up saving us a few dollars, and it wasn't that big of a difference total. In total, it's going to save us around $120 a month once it's all paid off, which is a decent amount, but it's not that big a deal. It's one of those things that it's just kind of it was nice, it's fun, and it's kind of nice being able to produce your own electricity rather than always relying on something else from somewhere else. Maybe sometime down the road I can put in a generator or a battery so that I have backup for when electricity kicks off. Also, I have more space on the roof that I could put up more panels if I wanted to do that, but I'm trying to limit it to about what I use so that we're in the ballpark of what we're needing for our house. I know this video is very, very different from the normal videos, so if you came here for this and this is your first time, normally we're doing a lot of woodworking with all of these things behind me. But this one was one that is a little off the beaten path, but enough people wanted to hear about it, so we thought we'd do it. So thank you all for watching. If you do like this kind of content, let me know. Maybe I will do a 1-year review once it comes back up. We'll see how that goes. It'd be kind of nice to see what the actual numbers are when it's all said and done. But we'll see where we are when that rolls around. So let me know your comments, thoughts, ideas down in the comments below. I do read through all of them, and thank you for sharing those. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to the patrons on Patreon, members here on the channel, everyone scrolling over on the side. Thank you. You are the reason that this channel is existing, and without you, we would not be here. So if you'd like to find out more about that, you can click the Patreon link down in the description below, or you can click the join button and become a member here on the channel. So I think that'll do it for now, and until next time, have a wonderful day. So if I'm producing my own electricity, does that mean that my 3D printer is now a hand tool? Or do I have to hook that up to a bike to generate the electricity for it?